I was nominated to live in the entrepreneur house. I moved into this house, and there's 6 other founders that live there. I was just there for 3 years, soaking up as much knowledge as I could. And one of the things that I saw, despite, regardless of the level that they were at, revenue wise, or how many years they've been in business, they're all struggling with the same problem, which is they're consumed by admin work.
All right, this is another episode of the Form Your Own Pack podcast from Founders Pack. My guest today is Ryan Brazzell from Assistant Launch, and he is a founder out of San Diego, California. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited. Happy to be here.
That's good. We're excited to chat with you. So for people that don't know, who is Ryan and what is Assistant Launch?
Yeah, so that's a loaded question, but I think at my core, and you and I have talked about this, I'm just a tried and true entrepreneur. Like, I've always been one my entire life. And so I have basically everybody in my family has owned a business or run a business. And so I didn't really see another way. I'm actually tremendously unemployable. As you've probably found from a lot of your guests as well. I just have never really been a good employee because I was always looking for, you know, solutions to things, or getting distracted with something else that was more exciting, and all that stuff. So entrepreneurship's always been one of my biggest loves, and I live it, I breathe it every single day. um, as far as the more specifics, I am a really experience and product driven founder. So I'm particularly interested in the user experience, and how people, what people's perception of the company is, and how they make their way in, and what are all the little touch points along the way. And there's actually, I think it was an episode of Tim Ferriss where he was talking with one of his guests, and he was saying, as you go through the product development process, you can say, all right, what's a 1-star experience? What's a 2-star experience? What's a, all the way up to 5 stars.
Okay.
Right. And then you can ask yourself, what would a 6-star experience look like? What would a 7-star experience look like? And you start to come up with these ridiculous answers that you can ultimately distill down into things that maybe you can implement that would improve people's experience and the value that you can drive with your business. So yeah, I love coming up with creative solutions to problems that people have. And since I was surrounded by founders my whole life, I have seen the unique challenges that exist. And one of those in particular that, I've started multiple companies. We could talk about some crazy stories later, but Assistant Launch was really created so we started in 2019, just before the pandemic, completely uncorrelated. And here in San Diego, this would have been 3 or 4 years now, I was nominated to live in the entrepreneur house.
Oh, wow.
They call it the Epic Entrepreneur House. It's
Okay.
a home in San Diego. And actually, I was listening to your episode with Cam earlier, and it
Yeah.
reminded me a lot about what they do. I got to connect with him. It seems like a super
Yeah, Cam
fascinating
Duty's really
concept.
good.
And I used to live in Chattanooga, and I know people that he knows. So it's this really cool. We'll get into this later, but as far as community goes, it's this super important piece that as a founder, if you don't have, I think it makes it super difficult to succeed. So I moved into this house, and there's 6 other founders that live there. I was the dumbest person in the room, always. They're several steps ahead. As I think some people had e-commerce businesses, some people had med tech companies, and a lot of these people were close friends of mine that I've watched grow over the years, and some of them have had massive exits. And so I was just there for 3 years, soaking up as much knowledge as I could. And one of the things that I saw, despite, regardless of the level that they were at, revenue wise, or how many years they've been in business, they're all struggling with the same problem, which is they're consumed by admin work that they don't know how to get rid of. They don't know how to like get any help with it. They're oftentimes like trying and then failing. They don't know who to delegate stuff to, what to delegate, all of that. And so my whole life I've been this systems person that has seen things like I'm like, oh, this is way simpler than it has. Like this can be way simpler. And back in 2012, I lived in the Philippines. This was when I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
I was employed by a big corporation that sent me over there to train some teams and stuff like that. And when I left, I kind of I took a mental note of there's some really incredible people over there. There's some really incredible people all over the world. And I think at the time, the US and probably a lot of other nations too had this skewed opinion of what foreign talent looks like. And so, with that experience and those connections and the people that I knew over there, I was like, what if we could create a system where we could find really good executive assistants, people that could work one-on-one, side by side with high-level CEOs, and we could figure out what are the highest leverage activities that founders need support with, and then come up with a system that could be followed, all the way from onboarding, gathering the right information, like psychological tests, all that stuff. What is the system that, yeah, what's the system that people could follow that could almost guarantee this outcome, which is we want our founders to only be working on the things that they're passionate about and proficient at. So I've talked about this on other podcasts too. Like we use a matrix that we've actually borrowed from. There's an author who wrote a book about executive assistants, and there's this matrix where you've got what are you passionate about. You've got one quadrant of the matrix is what are you passionate about and proficient at, and then on the opposite end of that spectrum is what are you not passionate about and not proficient at. And so that category is the worst of them all. It's the things. It's like the things that are on your to-do list day after day after day. It's the stuff that when you wake up, you just feel a ton of anxiety about it. You've got dread, guilt, whatever. And a lot of these things actually have a like financial repercussion or a business repercussion associated with it. And so I was watching, there's a bunch of other categories too, but I was trying to figure out how can we create this outcome for founders where they can be only working on what they're really good at and love to do. And for early stage founders, like from the 1 million to 10 million mark, a lot of them are so concerned about revenue that they're not willing to spend $60,000 to $100,000 on an executive admin that's in the office helping them with everything. And so I was like, there's an opportunity here, and I happen to know the right people, and I know how to create the system. And so for the last 3 years, we've built that system, we've iterated on it, created these really awesome feedback loops, come up with a really sweet onboarding system that kind of ensures that people can be successful with this. And so we're scaling. We've been scaling, but it's
Awesome.
also hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, nothing's easy.
Yeah, that's my
Especially when
thing.
you're in
It's
the
just
startup world, and
solving
then you're also
problems.
helping with people with their startup problems.
Yeah, that was hard in the very beginning because I was like almost trying to deliver too much value. It's like, I can help you with that, help you with that, we can help you with this. But our core product is executive assistance. It's like turnkey, done for you. And the ingredients seem to work.
I love it. So if you've worked with a lot of founders and you've been working on multiple ventures, if you could offer other founders only one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
I was thinking about getting t-shirts made with this on it, but
That means
I
it's
tell, yeah, I tell my friends a lot that come to me with their anxiety and problems, and my business is not working or whatever. I'm like, when has it ever not worked out, right? And if you think back to times when, as founders, you've ever thought like, oh, this is it, like this is not like there's always something on those. We don't ever end up homeless or dead or with no food on our plates. Like we figure out a way to do it. And so for me, I remind myself all the time and my friends, like, when has it ever not worked out? And if you can just remember that and just keep doing it long enough and keep reminding yourself of that long enough, you'll get to the other side of your challenge. And even like, as a personal example, just recently we hired an operations manager to come in and take over operations. And I had tried multiple times to get somebody in an operational seat that was going to be able to deliver the same level of quality that I can, and that, some other, like, it's just hard. Everybody know, like, people know that that's one of the difficult hires to make. And yeah, and we've done it, and now we're on the other side of it, and it's been, life changing, I think. So when has it ever not worked out?
I like
Just
it.
reminding yourself of that.
That is a good kind of totem for people to touch and come back to reality, especially if they're founders. You kind of alluded a little bit to this before, but what has the role of partnership or community been to your success?
Everything, literally everything. When so before living in California, I grew up in Nashville, just south of Nashville in Franklin. If anybody out there knows Franklin.
I know where it
Um,
is.
yeah. So growing up there, I was always the, like, hungry, young, whatever, ambitious, however you want to describe. Uh, I wanted something to do. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to, like, create. And in Tennessee at the time, I don't know how it is now. I've heard that it's a lot more progressive now, but at the time, it was just really difficult to find that, um, like, to find my crew. And so in 2015, like just after moving back from the Philippines, living there, I was having a conversation with my dad, and we were learning. We both like nerd out on, new technology and stuff like that. And at the time, the Internet of Things was a big deal, and I was learning about these companies in the Bay Area and stuff that were leveraging IoT, and we were like, California seems like the place. It seems like that's where stuff is going on. Like, and so I moved. I decided right then, like on that call, I was like, I'm quitting my job, and in a week I'm moving. And this was back in 2014, 15. And I moved across the country. And the first, within the first 3 months, I had, there was a girl I was dating, and she worked at some law office, and she brought over someone that she had met at her law office, this girl, and the girl brought her boyfriend as well. And I ended up meeting, his name's Shiv, who I'm actually going to recommend that you speak to.
Oh, there you go.
But Shiv and I we tell the story all the time. We were sitting on the couch talking, and we had just, met each other for the first time. And like after 3 or 4 hours, we lost track of like where the women were. We had no idea where they went. And what I learned, like within my first 90 days of being in California, is that I have been missing out on this incredible community of people. I was like, this guy understands me. He understands what my vision is. He understands the kind of life that I want to lead and the kind of impact that I want to make. And from there, I actually joined. So he was a part of this mastermind group. And I attribute every single thing that I have right now to joining with community and exchanging ideas and developing accountability and ownership around those ideas.
Oh, that's excellent.
And yeah, I spent several years in this mastermind group in San Diego called Junto, and it was
Is that
really, really cool.
Is there DC something? Is that the same group?
I don't know.
You know where the name Junto came from, right?
Yeah, but Benjamin Franklin.
And Franklin, right? So that's
Yeah.
always like it's kind of the original mastermind. You have like these little meetings with people that we probably all know are now famous, but from history.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It was
cool.
really, really, it was really, really cool. So that group, I met a lot of, I mean, I was like, this is my tribe. Like, people back home were trying to understand why I left and all that stuff. And it was just almost inexplicable. It's like, can you imagine, like, I met a whole new family of people that understood, um, what I was trying to create in the world. So community is everything. And it's just been, for me, the last 10 years, it's just been an iteration um, community and developing bonds with people, a lot of times just at the next level or a couple of levels ahead of me, so I can just soak it up and learn. And The Junto was a big part of that. That's kind of where everything started. And then once I moved into the house, that's when everything changed. And it's just like constantly being surrounded by people that are gonna, like, we know each other's businesses, we know each other's goals, we know each other's insecurities. A lot of, and I know you were talking with Cam about this too. Many of us were invested in each other's companies.
Right. Cross shareholdings. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were having events and things like that, where we'd have investors come in and evaluate different opportunities and stuff like that. So there's this ecosystem that San Diego honestly didn't have. Like, I think this was something that was created by a few people, and then it grew and grew and grew. And now it's become like this hub of, almost everybody in San Diego that's anybody. And San Diego doesn't, San Diego's not LA, it's not San Francisco, it's not New York City. But we have a community that keeps everybody accountable and growing and help each other out and stuff like that. So it's been huge.
I love it.
It's
And
been
that is
huge.
central to kind of our mission at Founders Pack, is to help people to form their own pack. And that's kind of what we talked about. So that's exciting to hear that you're actively involved in mastermind and group that support you. So that's incredible. We'd love you to continue to be a part of our group in some way going forward. Appreciate your time today. And I just want to wrap with a couple of quick things. First off, how do people get in touch with you?
You can email, for one, Ryan@assistedlaunch.com. If you have any questions about how to get this kind of support, or if you just want to jam on systems related stuff, I'm constantly building no code applications and
very cool.
Playing around with AI and stuff like that. So I'm constantly nerding out on that kind of thing, and I'm happy to help support people. And then our website, assistedlaunch.com. You can check it out there. I'm very rarely on any social media because I got my head down and I'm building. So
that's probably better. All right. And as the final thing that we want to wrap with, as you know, is we usually, when we talk to interesting people on the podcast, we like you to nominate other interesting people who are founders or investors to be a future guest. I think you alluded to one person, but I'll let you state, who would you like to nominate as a future guest of the Form Your Own Pack podcast?
Yeah, so my friend Shiv Shukla, the first person I ever met when I moved to San Diego. He's a med tech founder here. He's the founder of a company called Neuralace Medical. It's an electro stim device that is seeking to eliminate the pharmaceutical industry by treating chronic nerve pain. So he's a brilliant guy, super kind, and he lives here in San Diego. So I'm sure he'd be happy to speak.
That is amazing. Okay, Shiv Shukla, I think is how you pronounce it, right? You've been nominated as a future guest. Ryan, I really appreciate you spending time with us today, and we look forward to following your journey and having you involved in lots of the crazy events and things we got going on in 2023. Hopefully we can coordinate a few things.
Yeah, I'd love to. It sounds great. Thanks, Michael.